Okay, I've foreshadowed this video enough. Let's talk about a bunch of teams in the West. Not all of them, but a good amount. Some that I could not fit into the thumbnail. Also, there's a sponsor in this vid, and we don't have to talk too long about OKC. I mean, they've set the bar. Can anyone in the West, besides the Nuggets, reenact how Denver challenged them or how the Pacers challenged them? And so offensively, that is, you either have one of the best players of all time, or you can create an offensive ecosystem of everybody can pass, dribble, and shoot, and also we have a central hub who's one of the best passers ever. And then defensively, I mean, you need tough on-ball defenders like Nembhard, or you need this Adelman Nuggets zone defense that really freaked out OKC, or something equivalent to that. They're great, they could very well go back-to-back, but that hasn't happened in a while. It's tough to do, just ask my Celtics. The order of this does not mean anything, but let's start with the Wolves. The next step for Ant, after this three-point jump he had this past season, where, I mean, truthfully, if he took, let's say, 2 less threes a game moving forward, I wouldn't complain, but even so, the jump was crazy. It feels like mastering the in-between game is next for Ant. Some of that being pull-up twos, mid-range in general, a floater. I understand with how great of an athlete he is, the preference is always going to be to try to finish through guys or contort his body around the rim in whatever way, but a floater is nice. And I think to go along with this, more plays where Ant doesn't just have to drive as hard as he can from the top of the key versus a defense that's ready for him would be cool. Because I was looking back at a bunch of his baskets versus OKC, and I mean, it's just so many of, he's got to work so hard to get by Caruso or Dort, and then it's just, okay, now Chet and Ihart, or one of them at least, is waiting for you at the rim. We know OKC collapses the whole thing. There's only one OKC, but I'm just picturing a world where Ant is better for mid-range, and perhaps there's more plays where he can start his work on a play from within the three-point line. Clear a side for him, that type of thing. Now, teams are still going to bring doubles. Teams are still going to help off of certain guys in this Wolves team. I get it. We'll talk about that in a second, but that's what I'm looking for with Ant. As I say that, I do think their point guard situation where, I mean, like, Conley can still manage an offense, but he's too old to strike fear in the hearts of defenses. Dillingham's too young. DiVincenzo and Ant are not point guards. So you might have to ask Ant to run the offense more than you really like to, which then goes into lineup questions where the Wolves, they do feel like a constant lineup question to me between, is it Nas and Gobert? Is it Randall and Gobert? I mean, that's the starting lineup, right? How many minutes can we manage of Nas at center, which really opens the floor up, but we still need Gobert on defense? Yeah, I do think sometimes the offense is just going to stall a bit where it's Ant or Randall creates something out of nothing. But to be fair, that happens to basically everybody besides the Nuggets, I guess. One little thing, Jalen Clark, I'm assuming, gets a lot of the Nickeil minutes. He is very, very good on defense. We'll see if Terrence Shannon plays. At this point, I'm not accounting for any sort of Jaden McDaniels jump. I think he's just going to be a really, really good defender and do enough on offense, hopefully. Okay, that's the Wolves. They're really good. They can beat anybody but OKC in my eyes. Okay. Because I just think they need more playmaking across the board to not stall out versus that OKC defense. Now let's go to the Nuggets. So when the Nuggets won the title, the question that whole season was, are they good enough defensively? Clearly they were. And then through Jamal Murray dealing with some injuries, losing some guys, being too expensive, the question the past couple years became, are they good enough defensively? Is Jamal Murray still that dude? And do they just simply have enough good players around Jokic? And also, can MPJ stay healthy? It feels like between Bruce Brown, Valanciunas, Hardaway, and now Cam Johnson, where I think in a vacuum, MPJ and Cam Johnson are pretty similar, but at the least, if Cam's just going to be healthy in the playoffs, then okay. It feels like we're back to, is the defense good enough? And that's a win. And so we will see if David Adelman uses more of this zone that gave OKC fits throughout that round 2 series. I'm still assuming we're going to see, Jokic at the level on screen actions and then rotations on the back end, which I talk about every single time I talk about the Nuggets. And, Cam Johnson's a little worse of a rebounder than MPJ. Should it really matter that much? Probably not, but it's still a thing. I do remember when they won the title, the Bruce Brown instead of MPJ lineup was really, really good for him. The new version of that would be Bruce Brown over Cam Johnson. Bruce Brown a couple years older now, of course. So we'll see. I mean, as far as off the bench, look, Hardaway, we all know how Hardaway can exist around Jokic. We know how Cam Johnson can. It's going to be very similar to MPJ. Valanciunas off the bench, I mean, you're just hoping the minutes are not horrible. They can still be a negative. They just can't be negative a million. And then as far as Jokic and Murray, I mean, they're going to ride that two-man game until both of those guys aren't in the league anymore, man. And teams are not going to be able to guard it. They're going to clear one side, handoff, pick and roll, whatever you want to be. And they've got a counter for literally every type of defensive coverage you got. In the regular season, Jokic, Murray, and Gordon were plus 13 net rating. In the playoffs, they were plus 9. I'll admit, on July 23rd, if you force me to pick a team to win the West, I am leaning Nuggets. Before we talk about some more teams, this video is sponsored by SeatGeek. So the Red Sox are kind of falling back down to earth from their pre-All-Star break surge. Nonetheless, they still have something to hang on to. Fenway Park is awesome, and if I wanted to go to a game, then I would use SeatGeek as I have in the past, and it's always been a good time. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app, and there are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, many things. And you can use my code FunkyDiabetic10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Just look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. FunkyDiabetic10 for 10% off your next set of tickets, and you can find my code in the description as well as the pinned comment of this video. We are in the NBA offseason, but there's still a lot of good things that you can find on SeatGeek. Good stuff. Now let's go to the Lakers. Big hypothetical here. If the Lakers get the best versions of Marcus Smart and DeAndre in this season, and Luka is in shape, what is stopping them from being contenders? Besides the obvious of the West is really good. Once you get past Smart, and I'll say LaRavia off the bench, they might still just be a little too thin, at least at the time of me doing this video. And maybe for as much as LeBron has defied everything humans are supposed to do at his age, maybe it would be too much at this point to ask him to go through the whole season, whole playoff run, all that. Or if Austin Reeves isn't good enough as a number 3 guy. I don't know. Look, Luka's really good, and we saw the template for having a title team around him, right? Good centers that he can run screen actions with, catch lobs, all that. Defenders, and then one other guy who can be a real creator. Do the Lakers have that exact template? Well, they don't have 48 minutes of really good center play, and we've already done the whole we'll see with DeAndre in this year. Obviously, LeBron is a good enough second creator. We just don't want him to be doing that and then also have to do a lot of dirty work, because that is when you start to get into, yeah, this is too much for even him to do for the whole season. So we'll see with the Lakers. They're one of my most anticipated teams to watch. Now we go to the Rockets. Enough has been done, okay? They're going to be mean and physical and athletic as all hell, and now they got KD for efficient scoring as opposed to Jalen Green causing every Rockets fan a headache. Yeah, Dylan Brooks had to be a casualty for that one, but they have good defenders everywhere. The question that I've got is, all that's great, but how our defense is going to try to not cooperate with the Rockets' idea of themselves. Some of that's going to be switching and just not giving them driving lanes, whatever, that's obvious. A big one for me is just teams double-teaming KD. I know in theory it's like, well, listen, if it's on the short roll with Şengün, he can definitely convert that. Amen's going to come backdoor, stuff like that. You can't ignore Amen because he's going to kill you on the offensive glass. He's going to cut. He's going to drive off the catch, all that. Fred can shoot. I understand. Jabari can shoot. Finney Smith can shoot. But we just saw this offense, I'm going to say, grind their way to being 13th in offense for this regular season. Through physicality, offensive rebounding, a whole lot of Fred Şengün pick and roll, and then Amen entering the starting 5 and just making them way more dynamic. Bunch of things. But I feel like there's still going to be an element of, oh crap, there's 7 seconds on the clock. They forced the ball out of KD's hands. Somebody create something. So I don't know. That's all I got. Because athletically, defense, yeah, they're great on all that. Like, I do think it's the ideal team around KD where basically the whole team can do the dirty work. He can do a little bit of the dirty work, but he can mostly just be Kevin Durant. Okay, let's talk about the Warriors now. As far as the Kuminga situation, where, I mean, we get it. Restricted free agent, nobody has cap space. Steve Kerr doesn't trust him unless he has to play him because Steph Curry's out. In a big game, if he gets dealt, it has to be a sign and trade. Already rumors of them shooting down potential Kings or Suns offers. I will just say, to me, to have a real chance at contention, they need someone besides Steph and Jimmy who can really get buckets in a big game. But that person also needs to not have so many weaknesses that it makes Steve Kerr not want to play him. Can they realistically acquire that guy within a potential Kuminga trade, or can Kuminga become that guy? It's one or the other. One of which I think would take probably some real convos between Kuminga and Steve Kerr that we'll never know about. It feels like they're going to get Horford after the Kuminga something happens. And yeah, that team would be old as hell. But Horford on offense, at this point, it's mostly taking threes and making good passes, but he can exist in that whole Warriors system. And Steph with a big who can stretch the floor and make good passes is cool. And then defensively, he will be in the right spot, he will make very few mistakes, and he will make it a little easier for Draymond and Jimmy to do all their amazing help defense things. I'm talking as if it's a conclusion that Horford goes to the Warriors, but we all pretty much see that happening. They're hoping Pods can grow into, let's say, a 15 points a game guy. I'm hoping that Moody can just get good enough on offense to where defenses don't feel like they can pretty much ignore him, which is what it pretty much became in the Rocket series as his minutes kept going down, especially because they would prefer that he gets the tough one-on-one matchups, so again, Jimmy and Draymond can do their help defense stuff. Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond are great. Feels like they still need a little more juice outside of those three, but they were really, really good after the Jimmy trade. Now let's go to the Spurs. I think the Spurs belong in this big group of teams. I think they can clear 40 wins, and Wemby keeps going up, so let's talk about him. I'm pretty sure Wemby is good to go after the blood clot. So when Wemby was in the court last year, the Spurs had a 110 defensive rating, which is really good. And when he was off the court, they had a 118, which is really bad. One caveat, towards the end of the season when Wemby and Fox were out, who cares about those lineup numbers? I understand, but still, Wemby's great. He could get Defensive Player of the Year this year. They'll be worse when he's off the court. Cornet should give them a better chance of holding up defensively when Wemby's on the bench. Then we got Carter Bryant, Castle, Sohan, on-ball defense, switchability, physicality, the whole thing. Yeah, there's questions about those guys on offense. I mean, Castle can definitely create with the ball, but it's the shooting. Carter Bryant, it's let's just see, and Sohan can't shoot at all. I've already said with Castle, besides just having more scoring than Marcus Smart, he gives me that Marcus Smart vibe of watching him with the Celtics, and just, even if it might be some missed jumpers, something's going to happen. A big steal, a big rebound, late in the game, that type of stuff. The one thing is just the way the lineups have to play out. Like, if you have to take certain defenders off the floor for the sake of just getting more shooting, more playmaking, whatever, okay, we'll see. As far as the offense, I think it's time to see where the Wemby, De'Aaron Fox two-man game can really get to, because by the time the Spurs got Fox, Wemby was already being affected by the blood clot. We just didn't know what it was yet. And because Wemby is so talented, whether it's popping, rolling, they could run it, clear side, top of the key, free throw line, whatever. The one thing to all this is the talent around those two really there? Is the shooting, creation, all that there, to where defenses don't have too many ways that they can mess this up? The obvious, of course, is if Sohan's in the game, put your wing on Wemby, get really physical, get up under him, have the center on Sohan as the extra rim protector. Again, is there enough talent around those two to where it's just not as easy for defenses to do this stuff? Sure, Vassell will make shots, Castle will make plays off the dribble, Barnes and Champagnie can shoot, Sohan can also set screens to try to counter some of this. Truthfully, I don't know how many minutes we're going to see of Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox together, but it's going to have to happen sometimes, or else Harper's going to play like 15 minutes a game, and you just can't have that. Keldon's here, so that's cool. And when I'm talking about the Wemby-Fox two-man game, to be fair, Wemby is more talented than just running DHOs and screens for Fox. It's also going to be a lot of him taking his guy off the dribble, him just doing whatever with the ball in his hands. Taking a bunch of threes, you get it. Now we go to the Grizzlies. They don't have one guy who can replace Bane's production right now, but I think they'll still win a good amount of games. So much of this is around Ja. For one, him playing more than 50 games, but also new coach with Asalo, more pick and rolls, we all know this. So in the last 7 games of the regular season where Ja was playing and Asalo was the coach, his shot attempts were up, his points were up, and after looking at a bunch of his shot attempts, these are just shot attempts, these are not every single play that they ran, the Miami game felt like the game where he started to get a lot of his shot attempts off of just going downhill off of a screen from Edey, which was like the 3rd or 4th game. But it's not as if that's going to be every single job screen action, him just getting inside and having to twist his body or whatever to finish. Like, sometimes it's going to be you got to take a pull-up 3 because teams are going to dare him to take those, right? That has slipped the past couple of years. Floaters, pull-up 2s, and teams are always going to dare him to make these types of shots. As far as the rest of it, I mean, look, Jaren is great. I think that they're going to get a bit of a bounce back from KCP. I don't know why. I call it a gut feeling. The trio of Jalen Wells, Jaren, and Edey had like a plus 17 net rating last year with a really good defensive rating. And suddenly, I do think Cedric Howard's development, their first-round pick this year, it's like kind of a pretty big deal for them. Ty Jerome, Brandon Clark, Santi Aldama, they're all cool. To me, the template of this team is really good on defense, and we get back to the closest thing that peak Ja Morant looks like right now. And also depth. Depth is always a big thing with these guys. Now let's go to the Clippers. So between the Beal video and the John Collins trade video, I've probably said everything that I can say about the Clippers, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I think they believe that they'll just be awesome defensively as long as they have Zoo and then one of Kawhi, Derek Jones, Chris Dunn on the floor, and Brook can protect the basket versus bench lineups. The real question here, even with Beal and Collins now, is will Harden not have a meltdown as a playoff series goes? It's happened however many playoff series in a row now, at least 3, where he starts out great, and then whether it's you put Jaylen Brown on him or the Nuggets just up the pressure and get a little sharper in their rotations as the series goes along, he eventually fizzles out and has a meltdown game towards the end of a series. So I get it. More talent in the door. They got Beal on a cheap deal. You have Collins who can deal with the physicality of fours a bit more to take some of that off of Kawhi's plate. Kawhi, he'll have a couple of pop-off games in a playoff series. For the most part, he'll just give you a good 20-something. He can't go like Superman takeover mode every game. He had one of those versus the Nuggets, but yeah, Harden, playoffs, you get it. We'll do a couple quick ones for the Pelicans. I don't know what they're going to be this year. Mavs, if Kyrie was healthy right away, I would give them their own thing here. I think Cooper can help them win games right away. AD is great. They have a lot of good players, but until Kyrie comes back, I just think they're going to be not bad, not great. And even then, I do still fear that the basketball gods will just not allow them to be anything more until like 7 years from now. I don't know.